Hello friends and enemies, welcome to or back to Happy For Now. It's me, Isabel, here with my September highs, lows, surprises. I don't know, whatever order that all goes in. What a month! So after like August's bananas reading marathon that happened, September was a lot quieter. Now listen, we're gonna caveat this, I say that. My numbers are gonna be high because 30 and 30 happened, okay? Which means, obviously, I read things, but I read a lot of this stuff, the manga behind me. And that will be coming to you in a 30 and 30 reading vlog, and then also you're going to get a manga log for the last quarter soon. But all of that is also changing in November because I've been picking up too much to keep doing the logs the way I am. It's a whole thing. It's fine. I'm excited. I briefly talked about it in my resets. You're basically getting a monthly manga log and haul situation in the future. And I will keep mentioning it in the next couple videos of manga stuff, just so you know. But yeah, so like, as I say, like, September was a month in which I feel like I went, what did I read? What did I read? Because I read things. Obviously, I read 53 things total, but we'll talk about stats in a bit. But yeah, I felt like I was like, what books did I read? Did I like anything I read? Did I, like, it just was weird. It was just weird all around, but it's okay. I'm cool with it. And we'll get through all this. I'm excited. I feel like I'm coming in strong at the end of the year, which is really nice. I was really worried, honestly, how bad my reading would be for September after the amazing readathon, and it really wasn't as bad as I expected. And I already feel like I've hit the ground running, literally running in October, so that's exciting. All right, let's dive right in. First up, for stats, I read 53 books total in the month of September. Again, 30 and 30, y'all, 30 and 30. That was a total page count of 10,254 pages, an average rating of 4.16, which, by the way, next year we're pulling manga into its own ratings because it is inflating my book rating so much that I'm kind of curious to see what that looks like without manga. I listened to 20 hours of audiobooks, which, again, really good for me. I've been struggling. I've not been listening to as many audiobooks as I normally do lately, so I'm building that back up again, and I'm really enjoying it. 6 KU titles, 16 library books, 5 rereads. Then for our age demographics, we had 29 adult titles and 24 YA, so those were all like shoujo romances. And then format-wise, I read 6 ebooks, 5 audiobooks, 41 manga, maybe 42. I'm not sure if this number is right or not. I think my count on my like tracking sheet is 42. Either way, we're close. But yeah, I'm happy with this. Like I said, I feel like I did great for 30 and 30. I didn't read as much as I wanted to, but I had some twists and turns at the end of the month that weren't expected necessarily. And I had a trip in the middle of this. So like, honestly, I'm very confident that next 30 and 30 round, I will be doing 60 and 30 pretty easily. Oh my God, pieces. Whoa. Oh God. We are having a playtime, so please hold. Sorry for that interruption. Bees has decided she wants to play with Millie / beat Millie up. I'm not sure. You would think the 8-pound cat would not be the one beating up the 20+ pound dog, but you know, that's never how it works. She is, and forever will be, the queen of the household. So now we're doing that. That's great. Okay, so yeah, quick read what you own update. I'm actually pretty pleased overall on my read what you own progress, because here's the thing, I'm never gonna not acquire books, right? But the goal is to read more than I'm acquiring to an extent, not be increasing the amount of books I own by like 10+ books a month and not reading any that I own already. So like, I feel pretty good. Now this month I did acquire 5 more books than I read. So I acquired 21 books and read 16 books from my library. So not terrible. Again, we are still bringing that number down and hovering in the same range for a lot of numbers. I do know like my manga buying for the last quarter is pretty slim, so that should give me a good chance to catch up and get ahead again. I honestly am excited to do so. That's really the number I want to bring down the most. I think next year will be my manga collection of unread. But also, like, I'm just happy with myself. Like, I'm not doing terribly at this, I feel like. I also think tracking it like this monthly and like being diligent, like what arcs am I getting that I do want to read? What audio arcs from Libro FM am I getting that I do want to read? Now you can only get 10 a month as an influencer, but still sometimes you're tempted to get like all 10, and sometimes they're just books I'm not going to get to in any like soonish time period. So I'm happy. I have ended September with 816 unread Kindle books, 90 NetGalley, 26 Edelweiss arcs, 112 Libro FM arcs, 138 books on Audible, 197 manga, 33 digital manga unread, 9 light novels, and 65 physical books on my shelf unread, which I did acquire like 2 new physical books. But when I read one of them, it counts for like 2 things I own. So I have an audio of it and I have a physical. So like, again, I'm making steps. I'm making steps here, and I'm happy about it. I definitely will be probably doing the same thing in January next year, where I buckle down and just read a lot of what I own. And it's just hard because like I want to read my library books too, and I want to read new things, and I want to read old, like, it's such a weird thing being a reader. Like, I always want to have a TBR. I always have one things to read, but I also like knowing that I'm reading the things I've bought and owned. So yeah, it's interesting sometimes how my brain works. Let's dive into my lows, surprises, and highs now. So starting off with my lows, I didn't have any DNFs, so it's just lows this month. We're gonna go from the best to the worst of the lows. So first up we have My Dark Romeo by LJ Shin and Parker S. Huntington. Listen, this is just like melodramatic, soapy trash. And I'm gonna say it's a low because I feel like it did not deliver to me fully on the premise that was the TikToks. Like, I really wanted this to be even more over the top than it was, almost. And in some ways that made it a low because I was expecting so much worse than what it actually gave me. For the most part, it just was fine. I did a video where I read books that followed me around on TikTok. This was one of those books, so I'll link to that video in the corner for you and down below if you'd like to check it out. But yeah, I was expecting worse, and I'm almost like disappointed. What is wrong with me? I'm like, why wasn't this book worse? I wanted it to be worse, but I did want it to be worse, and it wasn't. So I'm left in this like weird spot where like parts of it were enjoyable. I'm half tempted to read the sequel, even though it's also going to be like a 3-star for me. Maybe it should have been a surprise. I don't know. It's kind of a low though, because again, it just was lacking that something. Then we have another low. This is a low because honestly, I'm a little disappointed about elements of it, but I'm not going to give a ton away about it. And that's Seduced by the Pumpkin Spice Latte. Listen, your girl loves a bananas bonkers book. This one is 13 pages. It's like 13 pages. Yeah. And what I'm going to tell you for why this is a low is, one, because I have to reread it because we're going to do a group read with it. But 2, because I just think it could have went a little further with it. I just really think she could have leaned in a little harder to the bonkers. Now, this book does predate the current level of bonkers books we get. So like, this is pre-hinged or unhinged, like stuff. Like, this is pre some of that stuff. So like, I also understand why it's not as bonkers as it could be. But like, I just kind of wish it went a little further. Just a little further. And last but not least is Assistant to the Villain. I was very excited for this book. I have been very curious a lot about the Red Tower books coming out. I'm, optimistic for a lot of them. I enjoyed Fourth Wing. I was hoping for a continuation of me enjoying their books. And we are now 1 for 1. Because I picked up Assistant to the Villain early. I read a little bit of it. I was like enjoying it. And then the further I got into Assistant to the Villain, the more annoyed I got with that book, and the sadder I got with that book, and the more disappointed I got with that book, because it did not have the editing it needed to develop the story. And it's a debut writer, and I understand, and I do give some grace there, but I also feel like there was a lot that Red Tower could have done to develop this book a little bit better at the end of the day. And I wish they would have. I really, really do, because I think it had potential. Also, though, that like 2010s-ish YA cliffhanger at the end, absolutely not. I'm out. I'm done. That's just a no for me. Like, that's just not a thing I want in my life. So I'm just very disappointed at the end of the day with how this turned out. I know a lot of people love this book, and I feel like I'm in the like minority group. Like, this book was not good, and that's okay. Like, that happens, and that's okay. But I just feel like it's one of those things that just really, really suffered for it being a debut, and for somebody who had never written a book before and not coming from a publishing house that's, are any of them doing that work anymore though? I don't know. But, and that's not like a hate on the employees, because I don't think it's them. I think it's a higher up come down thing of like, we have to get the most things done we can. This is just, it's disappointing. I have a physical of it in my like to sell pile. I'm gonna probably list some manga and books on Pango. Probably in the new year. I don't know. We might do it on haul at some point this year. I know live unhauls have been popular with my friend group, so maybe I'll follow suit and copy them and do a live unhaul. But yeah, those are my lows. I definitely want to hear from people who read Assistant to the Villain and loved it, because I don't, like, personally, no one has come to me and told me they loved it. So I just wonder, you know? You just wonder. Next, my surprises. Okay, listen. These were, like, this was a hard selection this month. Because, like I said, I read a good bit, but I didn't read a ton of books that I was, like, very surprised by or, like, loved. So first up, we have another one from that same vlog, which, honestly, also Assistant to the Villain was in. But Morbidly Yours. This was a TikTok suggestion as well for me. This follows a morgue owner and a struggling, like, animation artist recently widowed. And yes, this one is also labeled as a rom-com, like they all are, because what rom-com doesn't have grief in it now? I've just noticed that trend, and it's and not just noticed it, but the more I see that trend, the more bonkers it drives me. But this follows her. She comes to Ireland to work at an animation studio, and it follows their, like, slow burgeoning romance, and they're, like, trying to help each other date, and it's really cute. Very, very cute. I think it delivered pretty well. Like, again, the grief stuff's there, but it didn't feel terrible because, like I said, she's a widow. The way it was done on page, I felt like worked for the story, and it didn't feel like it took away from the story in any way. It definitely had some funny moments. I don't really call anything a rom-com these days, because I don't feel like anything actually is very often, so I don't know if I would say it's a rom-com, but it definitely had, like, some funny morbid humor, and I really enjoyed that, and I really enjoyed our hero Callum and our heroine, I cannot remember her name, but yeah, I really enjoyed them. I thought this was really fun. I think this is a great one to pick up in October if you want a book that's, like, spooky, but not because, like, it's only spooky because of his occupation, right? So, like, it could be a good option this month. Next, I read Tallowood. This is my members pick, and there's a reading log for them up for this one. This is a crime fiction romance. This is an MM book as well, and I don't read a ton of MM books. We know this because I like to read ones written by male authors. This is not a male author, but I really enjoyed this one. And I also struggle with crime fiction sometimes because living in the States, like, I can't speak for cop experience elsewhere, but I assume, generally speaking, not great. But yeah, living in the States, I definitely feel like reading about cops can always be weird if people aren't addressing the systemic issues with cops. So I liked Tallowood because I didn't feel like we were focused on the fact that there were cops. We were focused on them figuring out who was killing all these gay men. And I just really enjoyed the story. I enjoyed the love story. I enjoyed the found family element here. It was fantastic. And I just had a good time overall with this. This was recommended to my members and I by Steph over at Novelty Corner, and I'm really glad we read it because it just was honestly a good time all around, and I really just had so much fun reading it. And I just was surprised. I really wasn't sure what I would think at the end of the day of this one. And then last for my surprises, we have Stuffed. I read Stuffed on a member's read along with Brie over at 11 Words. We're doing these where we read, like, monster books together. We read a couple chapters at a time, then come back and talk about those chapters. So we did Stuffed. We're doing another one this month as well, if you're curious. That one I talked about in my reset. But Stuffed surprised me because, like, I don't know what I thought was gonna happen, but none of what I thought was gonna happen happened in Stuffed. And that's not a bad thing. Like, it wasn't like nothing happened good. It was just like the way I envisioned Stuffed playing out was not how it played out. So that was a fun time and also weird and quirky and strange. So it just was a surprise of a read. I felt like every time I kept reading it, it just went places I didn't expect. So I feel like that perfectly fits the surprises category. And then last but not least, my 2 highs for the month. Yes, that's right, I only have 2, which is, like, not terrible, honestly. I'm not mad about it with how little I read. I feel like you basically just got most of my reads in this video. But one surprise of the month was Bonded by Thorns. I am obsessed. This is another TikTok made me read it video. This is a Why Choose Fae romance with a girl who ends up falling into the other realm. Beauty and the Beast themes really heavily, but also we have the seasonal courts. We have 4 love interests, 5 maybe? We'll see how that goes. And it's just, there's a lot of dynamics happening here. 2 of the men are together, and it seems like other ones have been together too previously. So we're getting a lot of that. There's a lot of political intrigue, a lot of world building. Like, it just has a great mix and this fantastic slow burn. And I'm a picky slow burn reader, but this has good slow burn, and that is part of why I loved it so much. So yeah, I'm thrilled I read this, and in fact I've already finished the second book. in October. So don't worry, that'll be in October to wrap up. But yeah, I'm now like anxiously waiting for December when we get the 3rd book in the series, and I'm just like ecstatic. I don't know. I don't want to say too much since I just finished the 2nd book. I feel like I'm going to spoil it, but I felt like both books have ended in ways in which I wanted to pick up the next book as quickly as I could, but I also wasn't mad if I had to wait. I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes a lot of sense. And last but not least is Only for the Weak. One of the most hyped books for me, because so many people I know have loved this book. And I was nervous, and I started it and I kind of like put it down because I was just so nervous to not like it because of how beloved it's been by my friend group. And y'all did not disappoint me. No one disappointed me in this one. I loved Only for the Weak. I do need a copy for my shelves. I cannot believe how good this book was. I feel like this had such a well fleshed out couple for such a short book. And the setup is that she is on her sister's vacation to Tulum with her sister and her sister's bridal party and husband to be and all the bridal party, like everyone in the wedding party, bridal party. The wedding party is on this trip a week ahead of the wedding. And there's so much tension and family drama. And I think that's the only element I could have done without was some of the family drama. But I also appreciated it being there because we got to see Janelle, our main character, really like stand up for herself and be like, no, this is not what I need. And I loved that for her. And then Rome is best friends with the groom who she'd previously dated. Janelle had dated the groom. And like they just did not work. And they broke up pretty quickly. Like it was not a long-term relationship. And her and Rome decide to hook up Only for the Week. And he says, use me like your stress ball. And also does things like rent her a yacht so she can read by the water undisturbed. And I'm sorry, but yes, please. This man is written by a woman, obviously. But like, it's full of that energy here. And I just loved them. I got teary-eyed at the end of this book. I loved them together. It had such a perfect ending. I loved the way it wrapped up. It just was so freaking good. I loved this book. So, highly recommend Only for the Weak if it's been on your radar, if it piques your interest. You definitely have a very like caretaking hero that is also not going to take shit about the woman he loves. And I think that's just something I deeply appreciate at this point in my life. And I also just really liked that she didn't need him to get through the week, but like he helped her immensely get through the week. But yeah, fantastic time. That is everything I read for the month of September that I'm going to talk about here. Not everything I read. If you're curious about everything I read, you can watch my vlogs if you really want to, or check my Goodreads. I'm trying to be better about putting up reviews on Goodreads as I finish things right now. So you can do that if you want to follow along real time as I read. I would love to know what your favorite or least favorite read of September was down below. And if you got any like spooky books lined up, let me know. Let me know what you're going to read this month. If you got something like really cool lined up you think I might like or that you're really excited for. And if you don't want to do either of those things, you can leave me a spider emoji because it is Halloween. I've got my spooky season on shirt. Yeah. We're here. We're ready. I'm pumped. It's my season. So yeah, you can do that down below. I will have links to all of these books down there for you, as well as links to be my friend anywhere on the internet. And I will talk to y'all in a few days. Bye.
About to leave, already packing. Come with me. I'm not really asking. We'll get away to a place where we don't know. About to see the world in action, what we can be, life with no distractions. We'll get away.